Hi everyone and welcome back to SwitchUp. Today we're going to look at Neon White, one of the most ambitious first-person shooter speedrunner hybrids, which channels its inner Travis touchdown, but takes us on a journey to heaven itself to help out God, who seems to have a bit of a demon problem. Thanks to the publisher for the review copy. In a month packed full of interesting releases, is it one more game to add to your hellishly large backlog? Or on the contrary, is this divine intervention? Well, let's find out. The excellently far-fetched narrative centers around the Neons. These are essentially sinners who have been called up to heaven to help fight against demons. God is hosting a tournament of sorts which pits the Neons against each other, with the promise of the victor being able to stay in heaven. The action is interspersed with fully voice-acted cutscenes. You play as White, an assassin who wakes up dead in heaven, so to speak, and can't remember his history. He finds connection with other Neons who seem to know him, but one thing I was very surprised with in this game is how coherent the narrative is, but also how complex.
A sinner partaking in heaven's delights? Heresy!
What at first seemed a fairly straightforward premise grows into a tangled web of intrigue the more characters are introduced. And each of them really is that, a character. From the off-the-wall Violet, whose writing reminded me of Harley Quinn,
the good kind? The kind that will catch a girl's spit with his mouth.
To the unusually optimistic Neon Yellow, with whom you share an initially opaque past. And then there are the Angels, with each person seeing them in their own way. But to Neon White, well, they're a bunch of floating cats.
Yes! Yeah.
Rather than feeling like a simple distraction between action, I was always keen to find out what happened next. As far as gameplay and controls go, this is where things get slightly unusual. What at first appears to be a first-person shooter is anything but. From a hub area, Heaven will send you on missions. These are more like first-person hybrid action platformers, with, even more perplexingly, a card-based mechanic. But hear me out. When you pick up a card, this acts as your weapon. However, they grant you special parkour abilities when you discard them. So you might take out a few enemies with the right trigger, and then using the R bumper, toss that card, which may give you a boost, launch you forward a set distance, or send you crashing down to terra firma and break in any cover. Each stage requires you to kill all of the demons, but it asks the player to do this in as fast a time as possible, and this is where the heart of Neon White shines. It's a speedrunner, and it will make you a speedrunner as well. On your initial run, you don't know how fast you have to go to achieve the top platinum trophy, but once you achieve silver or bronze, it will show you exactly what you needed. Even more interesting is that you'll need that gold rank if you're going to rank up your character. What does this do exactly? Well, you'll need certain ranks to move on to the next mission. But for those full speedrun fanatics, achieving the platinum allows you to then compare your scores to other players online. And if you've played Super Meat Boy and you enjoyed the challenge of trying to improve your times and compete against others, Neon White perfectly encapsulates that one more try mentality, while not being so frustrating as to stop the player from moving on, if you find it a bit too difficult. To keep things interesting, once you've completed a level, you can return to it to find hidden gifts. Yep, I said gifts. These presents can be gifted to acquaintances in the neon bar back in heaven. This slightly seedy area, looked down upon by the believers, but frequented by the other Neons, allows you to learn more about those around you. Also, through completing those missions in the best possible way, you'll gain access to gold tokens, which can be traded in for certain rewards. As you progress through the stages, they become more challenging, and you can hold 2 different types of card and collect more than one of each. And you'll often need to flick between your 2 cards, use the weapon, then use its discard ability, all the while calculating where you're going to get your next ones. Enemies will always drop a certain variety, but there are also vending machines that generally you won't want to use as they're simply there to stop you getting stuck. But stuck you will certainly get, and that's where you'll hit minus, which instantly restarts the stage. I haven't played anything quite like this in the past, although there are echoes of Mirror's Edge here, sprinklings of your favourite first-person shooters, and times where it feels like a free runner. But none of this would matter if the control system didn't work. But as I'm sure you can see from the images, the gyroscopic aiming is incredibly precise. It's not always perfect, there are times when you'll literally get yourself in knots, but this is by far one of the best implementations I've seen. You don't have to use it, but I think you'll struggle to be as precise as you need to be without it. The last element then are the boss fights. These embody all the skills the player's been taught throughout the missions, and they feel fantastic. Now, I'm only allowed to show you the very first one, but they're more of what makes Neon White already excellent. A highly unusual experience that I highly recommend fans of any of the aforementioned genres trying out. And all of this is framed against having 3 health hearts. When they reach 0, you'll die and have to restart, but there are collectibles to restore this as you dash from end to end. I would give gameplay 19 out of 20. Very enjoyable, but also tons of replayability make this one a must try. Controls score 18 out of 20, only let down when Gyro has a meltdown. That takes us on to visuals and audio. And first let's look at performance. The game targets 60 frames per second. It runs remarkably well, if not flawlessly. We'll notice the occasional micro stutter, and that 60 target isn't always maintained. The artistic direction is very interesting. It was very reminiscent to Paradise Killer, but these stages have an intentionally minimalistic look, which will also facilitate a high frame rate. Artistically speaking, the hand-drawn characters are reasonably well done, although the glimpse of the behind the mask face wasn't of quite the same standard. Enemy designs are also a touch basic, but the stages themselves are expertly crafted, with some decent lighting effects, reflections and shadows, and it looks and runs fine in handheld as well. The fast-paced frenetic gameplay is perfectly facilitated by the soundtrack from Machine Girl. This, along with the 60 FPS and solid audio work on the sound effects, are framed with good voice acting across the board. For me, visuals and performance scores 16 out of 20, while audio is fantastic. It scores 20 out of 20. The whole Neon White experience is framed around replayability. At just £19.99 or your regional equivalent, lead designer Ben Esposito has achieved what he set out when he first envisaged this speedrunning first-person platform game. There are tons of collectibles, further dialogue to explore, and those ever-enticing global best times to compete for. For an indie game these days, £20 seems expensive, but it's a refined and well-crafted experience. You're looking at around about 8 to 10 hours to complete the game, but as I say, there is replayability here. Still, I wish there was more. It's so much fun. I give value 17 out of 20. Neon White is an expert blend of pure gameplay, excellent soundtrack, and enjoyable writing from Ryan Shannon. It comes highly recommended from us here at SwitchUp. It scores a SwitchUp score of 90%. Sorry backlog, you're going to take another hit. Let us know in the comments, is this unusual mix of genres appealing to you, and will you be checking it out? As always, we've got our 10% discount on any eShop vouchers, so if you're going to buy the game, you might as well buy it for 18 quid rather than 20. Just use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg. Thanks to all of you that enjoy the channel, we really appreciate it. Oh, and go and check out Glen's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review. My goodness, that game's amazing. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch Up. Cheers guys, see ya!